What's going on, YouTube? We had a semi-successful wreckers run. After a little look around in another yard, we actually found another Honda Fit trim. But the cool thing with this one is that it actually has the deletes for both of those buttons on the both corners sides. And what's even better, let me top it off with a little cherry on top, is that I actually found a kind of like a darkish gray color trim with the same feature. So in my opinion, this is going to be probably the winner compared to the just an overall silver trim. I don't know if it looks the same on the video, but it is really visible to me, and I'm definitely going to be using this trim in the J's Racing, which I actually have here with me right now. And as you can see, the two ugly buttons, ugly silver trim. So what I'm going to do today, while showing you guys, is how to take apart a steering wheel. This pretty much fits for both 8th gens and like all the JDM wheels and stuff like that. And yeah, so let's get that started. So the only tools you'll basically need is going to be a Phillips head screwdriver, and maybe you may need a little smaller one. So first things first, basically, once you have the steering wheel in this format, you will see 1, 2, 3, and 4 Phillips head screwdrivers or screws, and I just basically start off by undoing them. As soon as you're done unscrewing those 4 bolts, what will happen is the back cover piece, you'll basically be able to just kind of like slide it off, and you can put that to the side. And then you basically have the bare bones of the steering wheel, just like that. And as you can see, there's going to be more screws on either side. So, and that's very much the next step. Now, if you have steering wheel controls, I highly recommend undoing them first, so they'll be located either on this or that side. It's usually easier to just get them in, unplug them basically from each corner, and then continue on your way. Be careful with it, because these little plastic pieces, they are really prone to breaking. And then we shall continue with the screws. Now there's going to be one on the corner here, one on the corner there, and then 4 really smaller ones, and that's where I recommend using the other bit. That's a little bit smaller. That's going to be 1 here, 2, 3, and 4. So let's undo those. Once you're done with those bolts, as you can see, you might have either 1, 2, 3, 4, or just a 1. And again, it's just 2 Phillips heads. Once you're done with that, you will see that obviously there's a plastic trim here, and there are little spots where it is kind of attached. So I want to try to show it to you there. And what you do is you basically just kind of push it over, and same thing on the top side. Kind of just push it over, and then what that does is on this side, it makes the plastic piece pretty much loose. And then from this point, so what you do is you basically just push from this side and that side gently, and what will happen is once it unclips itself, you'll see it has a little clippy there. There we go. It has these little clippies there that go into the wheel. Same thing on the other side. And the bottom piece as well, it just kind of pops right off. And then there you have it. So you basically just have this whole piece. There you go. And obviously the steering wheel frame as well. What I'm actually going to do with this as well is, since this trim didn't really come with both sides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off and the controls for this as well, and replace them with the CSX controls that I put on this side that has both volume and the cruise control buttons as well. I'll probably just take it out of here first. That one small bolt that you guys undid here, Basically the rest is just a little clippy. I don't know if you can see it through there. But it is a little sketchy to take out sometimes. So you got to be a little careful. Might have to like give this piece a little push and then kind of just like slide it out. Let me see if I can do it on camera. There you go. And nothing snapped. That's perfect. And then same thing on this side. Just like that, I have the whole trim, and that is beautiful. Just kidding. And then basically at this point, obviously it has its own little piece. Since it is the same as this piece right here, I'm basically just going to keep this all together and just reuse it on here. That being said, I've already undid pretty much everything in this. So I just take this off, put this to the side because I want to reuse the same pieces. And then you'll see basically exactly the same thing. Actually, you know what? These ones don't even have it, but it is the same thing with that little clippy piece. I'm going to try to be a little bit more careful with this one. Just like that. That piece is out. And then same thing with this side. That has the cruise controls. Just like that, bam shalaka, boom shakalaka. So I got the little trim piece cleaned up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is pretty much get the CSX controls that have both of them. And basically just flip this around, just like that. Same thing with this piece, and just kind of click it in there. It's pretty much plug and play. I'm sure you won't get too confused doing this. Worst case scenario, get a secondary trim and just practice on that before you go on your own, for example. Like go to a scrapyard and find something like that. And just so I can show you, so you can see there, kind of put it like underneath there. I don't know, where is it? There it is. And that kind of just snaps right in there. And now it's like nice and sturdy, nothing's going to be falling out. So once you got that handled, get your steering wheel and pretty much just kind of like align it on both sides. And what you want to do as well, you want to make sure that these little clips here, they go underneath the steering wheel leather, so that way there's a little spot there. Once it gets caught in there, it's basically not going to go anywhere. And then from both sides, kind of just want to give it a little push. Boom. Same thing in the bottom, give it a little push, and now it's nice and sturdy in there, just like that. One problem you might have is just a little plastic trim. Give it a little wobble and all the holes will line up. And this one you can just move around. And remember what you did earlier, you get these little pieces and you just kind of put them behind so they kind of align both sides. Same thing for the bottom, just like that. And bam, you got the plastic piece in place, you got the main trim piece in place. And what you got to do now is basically just put all the bolts back and you're golden. So process of going backwards, we finished off with the rear bolts, so we're gonna start with the rear bolts. These little bad boys on the corners of the wheels, we had the two that are down here, 1 and 2. We had one holding in the controls on both sides. And then we had the two slightly bigger, rounder screws on the very outside. Don't mix it up with these ones. It's the most outside ones that you have on the steering wheel. and not the bottom ones. It is going to be at the corner of the steering wheel. So I want to get that started. Another thing as well, once you get a little bit of a tightness, don't over tighten them, because these plastic trims are really brittle. And then we had the two kind of more rounder ones on the outsides, like I've mentioned. I'm going to put that in now. And you'll see the trim basically going to be lining up with that hole as well. So I'll put that on, and again, push it out from underneath, just so that way it kind of goes in the right spot. One little trick that I actually like to do as well, when you're doing this type of stuff, instead of starting forwards right away, I actually start off backwards, and once you hear like a little click, just like that, that means the screw actually went into the threads of the wherever it's going, and that way you know for a fact you will not be cross-threading those bolts. And that was probably the easiest bolt I've ever screwed in, because I actually followed that. As opposed to doing it on this side, I actually didn't follow it, so I may have cross-threaded a little bit, but that's alright. You guys learn from my mistakes, and you guys are going to be mint. Then, from here, so I did originally have these two bolts that came out of the, basically this piece right here, but since the new steering wheel trim does not have it, I really do not need these bolts at all. Once you get to this point, so we've done the two on the back, on the bottom I mean. We've done the one that's on the corner here. Oh, what are you doing losing focus? There you go. We've done the one corner here. We've done the same thing on the other side. We've done the one that's in the top left corner as well as the top right. One way or another, it doesn't matter. They're both top left and right corners. You're pretty much safe to go. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure that the plastic trim as well, it's pretty much clipped right on behind it. So that way it's nice and sturdy. At this point, you're pretty much free to move on to the front of the wheel. Get your little plastic trim. Alright, so once you get your rear piece cleaned up, or in my case, I got it cleaned up, I can pretty much just get my steering wheel and basically just align it. This little piece back here, it will basically just kind of like go in between and kind of just sit that way. And the rest you can basically just play around, make sure that everything aligns together. And it will basically just snap right on. Boom. So might have to give it a little bit extra force down here so it pretty much aligns perfectly. But everything else is pretty much properly aligned. All that's left now is just screwing the top portion to the rear portion. And I don't know if you remember or not, but we had a total of 4 bolts, or not bolts really, screws. And they were one in the corner here, same on the other side, down here, I mean up here. And then we had the 2 slightly hidden ones over there, as well as this side. So I'm gonna get that started and I'll show you the final product as well. And there you have it. So I'm sure you probably saw the minuscule little gap right here, maybe on the other side too, but the main thing is because this trim technically is not built for J's Racing and they do use a slightly different design and stuff like that, but either way this is good enough for me. Overall everything is super mint. Obviously this looks way better than having those dummy buttons here that don't even work. The trim itself, the color is not stupid silver, it's like slightly darkish, which I actually kind of like a lot more. And overall this steering wheel just looks way better now, especially with that yellow stitching on the sides and stuff like that. I don't know if you can even see it through this lens. But yeah, so that concludes basically the video. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know down below in the comment section. I will do my best to help you guys with anything, any questions that you guys may have. This is Mykov, changing the trim piece on the Jays Racing or any JDM wheel really, or 8th Gen Civic wheel. Please leave me a like, subscribe if you like my content. There's going to be a lot more coming. Currently winter season, so obviously there's not much to do for car stuff except for little stuff like this. You know, I just recently got into YouTube. This is my first ever tutorial that I've ever done, because my last vlog wasn't really a tutorial, but this is the first one that I actually tried it with, like this camera for example, and this one right here. And I really cannot wait for the summer season to start, because I am tired of just sitting here and doing absolutely nothing, going to scrap yards, grabbing trim pieces and stuff like that. I really can't just wait, get back into the game with one of these bad boys in the car, and just start whipping around, you know, fucking hitting VTEC, eh? Alright, that concludes the video, guys. Have yourself a nice one.